being not just a national but a global brand, how much of the advocacy and nonprofit support and work that you do goes locally versus, say, statewide versus larger efforts?
Well, thanks for having me here. Well, you know, we try and do everything that we can that can help, and I think one of the first things that we ever did that was of scale was the wildfires of Australia. And we had a very successful sock with a kangaroo on it and a koala bear, and to raise money for the wildfires of Australia. And when we saw that happen, when something happened locally, especially like the flood of the Helene, we jumped right in. And I think for Defeat being such a small company, even with a global footprint, you know, we're a small company, we try and do our best and put our best foot forward. And with that project, learning from the wildfires and then going to the Western North Carolina relief, we also jumped into action and drove a van up and saw firsthand the devastation on a Monday morning, on the Monday following. Yeah. We delivered water, and what I saw up there, the heart of the community coming together. Everywhere you looked, people were helping people. It wasn't until later until it got politicized. It was wonderful to see what was going on. So, you know, we try and help where we can. We do like to try and stay somewhere in our network, if you will. And outdoors is very important to us. It's our playground. And, you know, so we try our best to do a little bit in both areas because of our global stance. Yeah. And always try and keep it, you know, relevant, so to speak.
Great. And to your knowledge, you know, other brands that have large footprints, such as yours, do you, to your knowledge, are those other brands working on local scale as well to kind of support their local communities?
I really can't answer that very well. I mean, I think it should be a company, if you're connected to your local community, right? You know, you can feel the world. And I think it's probably most important to focus on the local community and then cast that out as you go. But I can't speak for other companies. I can't think of any in my head right now, but
yeah.
So I think with the major companies, some of it does start with the individual communities reaching out. So like I know with Helene, but then also with the fires in Southern California, Fleet Feet reached out to the, like, we are a franchise, but we can go to our corporate, who then goes to the corporates of the bigger brands, New Balance, Brooks, Nike, and then they help funnel things in as well. So like, for example, with Helene, all of the North Carolina stores pitched in, and not only with money, but like went to New Balance and some of the other brands, and shoes were brought in and distributed up to this area too.
You jumped me right in. That was my next question. It was a similar question with Fleet Feet being a national brand with independent store owners. I imagine groups are best served reaching out to those local individual stores and then serving, like you said, as a sort of a conduit to the larger, whether it be shoe brands or whether it be, you know, that Fleet Feet kind of corporate sponsorship and support. Jason, for you, being the most sort of local in the sense of your brand being just here in the Hickory area, do you feel like this positions you better to develop stronger relationships with you know, local advocacy organizations and nonprofits?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. We're dealing with, you know, people who are actually like trying to use the infrastructure here on a day-to-day basis. You know, when people come to buy a bike from me, you know, one of the first questions is, where am I going to be able to ride this thing? Where is it safe to ride? Things like that. So I think, you know, every day we're dealing with the people who are actually like taking part in this stuff. So yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that kind of leads into another question that I have is, do you feel that the improvements to local infrastructure, so a community like Hickory, you've got these, you know, the bridges and the city walk going in, are you seeing, both you and Juliet and even Shane, are you seeing the impacts of that in your business?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it started, you know, a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, when we redid the mountain bike trails in Hickory and just having like a really good place for people to ride mountain bikes safely. We started selling more mountain bikes and then seeing people come from out of town to come ride here in Hickory. And now this City Walk project, you know, it comes right by my shop, and then eventually it's all going to be connected to the to the mountain bike trails and everything, with the bridge, the aviation walk, all of that stuff that they're doing here in Hickory. You know, we're selling a lot more, you know, hybrid commuter type bicycles than we did before, just because there's a way to actually use them here, you know, because we don't have much as far as like bike lanes go in the Hickory area. So having some way that's like safely for people to get, you know, around town it's definitely made an impact. And you just see it, you know, you drive downtown and there's like almost always someone cycling or walking or running on the city walk. And, you know, before this project started, that was not the case. Just the hardcore of people were out there, you know.
The crazy part is that at least with the city walk, and I don't know how many of you had a chance to go check it out while you guys have been in town. It leads right to the downtown area, so it's a great place to sort of find a place to eat or grab an ice cream or something like that, or a beer. The road where the city walk goes, there was sidewalk there that actually did almost the exact same thing, but for some reason the renaming, like they went in, they widened, and that sort of thing. And at the time I thought it was a little bit crazy that we were tearing up sidewalk to put down sidewalk, but the renaming of it has definitely bloomed the community into using it more. And so, so have we seen an increase in business? Absolutely. Have we seen an increase in race routes? For those of you who do put on walks or runs or charity things, it improved what kind of routes that we could do, taking some of the pressure off of the police departments and the public safety, and because we can stay on these routes a little bit more. Definitely if you have a larger start, we usually start in a bigger place and it ends up on the greenways. But it has attracted, because it is a little bit safer, they don't need as many police officers to run a route, that sort of thing. So that's helped as well. I just think we're seeing more and more people meet to actually use it. So sometimes it's just a rebranding also. So if you have greenways or sidewalks that you feel like are being used, and talk to somebody at the city about rebranding it, because all of a sudden it just, like I said, they literally tore down sidewalks to build some sidewalks, and there's definitely improvement, and there's a lot of new bridges, and I think the connection is gonna, like, connecting those areas so it seems like one. But I'm sure many of you go to a new town, and one of the things you look at is, well, where can I get a ride in or a walk in or a run in? If you have it branded as a greenway or a walkway, it gets used. So
That's great. And then as far as, you know, obviously you've got the growth that Hickory has had with these, you know, the local greenways. Do you feel now, or did you during the process, were you engaged in, as a business, in support of those developments? Or as that has happened, do you feel more of a drive to continue to support and get behind any future expansion of those projects? From, say, let's say the planning process?
Is that question for anybody?
Anyone, yeah, please jump in.
Well, I'd like to go back to the other question,
Yeah.
because one thing that, number one, the street lights that they put in make it safe, and a lot of people run at night. And I found that to be a very important part of that expansion. And as you did in my introduction, we moved our sales and marketing office to the Greenway. And we did that on purpose. We were going to move to Asheville because we felt like the community understood our brand more. And Hickory made these changes, and we jumped on it 2 years ago. And so what I'm seeing is property values in that area are going up. It's almost like a country club. You've got people walking and riding and people pushing babies down those new pathways. It's incredible, the interconnectivity. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to go
No.
back to answer that.
No.
From a business point of view, I found it to be an incredible opportunity for Hickory, and kudos to all the Hickory people that made that happen. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we actually have the concurrent session going on right now is actually talking in a little bit more detail about that, about the inspiring spaces topic and how that's kind of benefited the community. But so Jason, like for instance, your the warehouse building that you're in has I don't know, I guess my question would be, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Has the interconnectedness of these this infrastructure led to more redevelopment of those sorts of projects?
So our building was renovated before the City Walk and everything was put in, but we actually, similar to Shane, we picked our space because we knew the City Walk was coming. Like we'll be 10 years old in January, our shop, but it was, you know, planned and funded before we opened, but it was like we knew it was coming. So when you're trying to open a new bike shop, you're like, it makes sense to be within, you know, a close distance to that. So we definitely, you know, same thing as Shane, like we wanted to be there because we knew it made sense for our business and our customers.
Yeah, that's great. So as that takes place, you know, I know here in Hickory, there's the Hickory Paths and, you know, Hickory Velo, the bike clubs. You know, if you were talking to, say, somebody from one of those organizations that wants to reach out and partner with, you know, whether it be a bike shop or an industry partner that happens to be in your local area, you know, what are you as a business owner kind of looking for in those partnerships, and to, you know, how best would a nonprofit or advocacy group approach you to develop those relationships?
I don't know.
That's a long-winded question.
I can take that. Okay, so first thing, if you're walking into one of these businesses, you've got to remember that you're not the first one to walk in. We see people, whether it's high schoolers asking for yearbook ads, to groups like you, to, you know, just about anything and everything. So one of the things is, whatever idea or partnership that you're coming in with, please make sure that it's relevant. Like that it's not, that you have a plan, that you have a purpose of what's going on. The other thing to remember, and this is small scale like us, because even though I'm a Fleet Feet store, it's S.J. Horan who owns the Fleet Feet store, and it is my business, and so I make those decisions, from what flavor goo is in the store to who our donations go to. So have a plan. Also, get there early. Try to find out when are they making their budget, because I hate it when somebody comes to me in September or October, because most of my charity budget is already gone. So you really want to, you know, and then ask, well, if all of your 2025 money is gone, how can I get on the schedule for 2026? The other thing is that make sure that you are asking for a partnership, not a one-way street, because we want it to be something that not only benefits you, but also benefits us. And it doesn't always mean the bottom line, because trust me, we would not be doing what we're doing if it was just about the bottom line. A lot of it is we want to change people's lives, and I'm sure your organizations want to do that too. Like, we get excited not by what's in the drawer, but by how many lives did we change today, even in a Fleet Feet store. And so have that plan too of like, hey, how can we improve the lives of our community by partnering together? And if you have an idea person on how we do that, do we do a social in the store? Do we do a bike ride that ends with a social in the store where you can present what's going on with your community? How can you bring your community to my store that might bring new customers to me, but at the same time I can host it or I can help? you know, it doesn't always necessarily mean dollar signs, because there might be a customer that's at my store that finds out about your organization and ends up being a great partner to that organization just through the networking. So I think the biggest thing is come to us with a plan, not just with your hand out, and want to be a partner, not just a one-way.
Right.
I think that was very well said. And Oliver, what you guys did yesterday and used our store front as a place to gather. I met a lot of old friends and new friends, and I think that's a really good start to start the conversation. You know, if a Christmas or a holiday party at Jason's or Shane's or Juliet's, I mean, those kind of things are really good to get the ice going. And you know, I think the Bicycle Club of Hickory, I don't think they've ever done any event at our location yet. We want to change that, but you know, that's a big plus when they do.
Yeah, it's if you you know, I plugged Jason's store, but all three, you know, the Fleet Feet store is amazing, and if you have the opportunity to stop by Defeat, do so as well. Some really cool like museum piece bikes. I think Greg LeMond's bike from one of his Tour de France wins was in there. So, side note plug, but yeah, thank you for that. And you know, I think that that key piece of developing, like you said, partnerships rather than seeking gifts. And based off of that, I mean, do any of you have particular partnerships that you have going currently with any organizations that you feel would serve as like a good template for others that you know, move forward?
We work with not a local organization, but California Bear, which is high school level mountain biking. And we all need young people in our sports and in our situations in business. And working with that team, although they're on the West Coast, they do travel the nation. And it's really cool to see them send people into the World Championships, and you know, it's grown locally at all the local high schools. And that's really cool to see the youth come into our sport.
Yeah.
I think the only like group that I have a good partnership that's been consistent. I definitely work with groups on specific projects or events and that sort of thing. But the one group that I have a relationship with consistent is called Safe Harbor. It's here in Hickory. It's a sort of like a halfway house for women. It's a place where they actually have a residential program and that sort of thing. But part of the residential program is working out. And so they are also in relationship with the YMCA, and part of their recovery is they have to go to the YMCA so many times a week or work out. So we've done 5K training groups with them, but one of their first things on their checklist when they check in is to come to Fleet Feet and get fit for shoes and be put in proper shoes. And we take care of all of that. So we don't charge for that. They come in, we have a special shoe library just for them. My entire staff knows that. If they need inserts, we make sure they get inserts. And Brooks was great as a partner and actually let us donate a ton of sports bras to that program as well. And so that's the one that I have the most consistently. Talk about changing people's lives. Like we've literally had women in tears after that. But the next thing is then when they come out of that, my customers that they become lifelong customers. And so that's part of that partnership, is that we've gone in and been able to do 5K groups with them, and not just affected the people there, but then also the volunteers who bring those women to our store and see what kindness that we spend with them. Those volunteers become part of our customers also. So we, in that situation, where we were able to reach out to bigger sponsors like Brooks, but at the same time be able to serve the community and then still see it come back to us. So And a lot of us who do this, we do it for the heart of our community. So when we're talking about partnership, you don't have to come with a bunch of stuff, but be willing to say, okay, well, how can we help you guys too? And I think that's the thing, because like I said, we do get lots of questions for money. We just love to be able to see that you want to help in the way back, because I'm sure all of you guys have some amazing groups that you support, and we would want to support them too. So.
All right, I've got some more questions lined up, but I did want to open up and let some folks ask some other questions, just so if something or a response that someone's given sparked something in your mind, we can address it now without circling way back to it later. So if anybody has any questions at this point, yeah.
Good morning, thank you. My name is John Dennis. I'm from Asheville, the Blue Ridge Bicycle Club. One of the concerns and issues I have is rider safety on the roads, and that leads directly to driver education. I would like to see an investment in public service announcements, and I believe that requires some significant funding, probably by the larger corporate sponsors. You all work with some of these larger corporate sponsors, and I'm wondering what you think the opportunities are for them to get involved sponsoring public service announcements regarding cycling safety.
I love your question, and it's a very difficult area, of course. I think in Australia, cyclists were considered lower than cockroaches to motorists. And they had a famous F1 driver driving in a pickup truck, and then he got on a bicycle on a pickup. Anyway, it was a very good commercial, and it talked about how you don't know who that is on the bicycle when you're passing them. And having some type of marketing nationwide on not the fact that, hey, I'm a bicycle rider, give me the rights. It's about the fact of who that is on the bicycle. And I'm working with Greg LeMond, who is a business partner of mine. He just won the Congressional Gold Medal. And I'm working with Greg to become the spokesperson in that area to try and get the nation to start some type of campaign. I think it's very, very difficult to share the road. It really is. I commuted for a year. I've seen bottles and slurs and whatever run off the road. I've had a friend taken from this earth right next to me in Asheville years ago. So I think that if there's anything, we're going to be doing a documentary on Greg's award, and we're hopeful that we can start the conversation of getting a message out on the advocacy of who that is on the bicycle in front of you and give them a little space. So I'm hopeful.
Have you reached out to your cable company that's in the area? So every big company has a donation fund, and honestly, some of them actually have to use it in order to still get certain funding and that sort of thing. I think working with possibly your local university in their filming department, I'm sure one of them has some kind of filming or marketing department or something, and that being able to be using them so that it's a low budget, quote unquote, commercial, and then going to Spectrum or whoever, Comcast or whoever's in your area, and seeing if they have any charity funds to be able to put that on. I think that's a short-term solution until a national solution can be made. But for your area, that's a couple of ideas that you could possibly use, is use the free labor for the experience from the university, and then really work with those cable companies in the area, because they might be able to help you out with that too.
I know there are a number of, I don't know whether it's necessarily like news channels or particular cable channels or networks, that there's a requirement that they broadcast a certain number of hours or minutes of public service announcements every year. And if you can create content, I know Bruce, who's here with us, did a great job working with us to create some PSA videos, and then the ability to get those out can really be beneficial. Tanya, did you have questions? Well, sorry, my mic was giving a little bit of feedback.
It's
so.
fine. I talk loud and I think everyone can hear me. That's fine.
We're in a small room too, so we're good. We should be okay.
My question's for the business owner. I'm with a nonprofit down in Raleigh. So earlier we're talking about a business and local organization partnership, and then there was mention about coming with a plan. So when we go and talk to our individual donor, our member, it's easy to convince them to give us money because we're advocating for you, we're talking to them. That's easy to do, but what are the matrix that you, obviously you can only answer for yourself and your business, but what are kind of matrix that you think you will be looking for? Because are you looking for us turning those money into membership? Are you looking for us to turn that into certain mileage of bike lane bill, cycle bill? What kind of thing that when I bring to the table and you look at the project and go, yes, we're happy to sponsor?
We're so small that the things that I donate to are ones that hit close to home that I feel a connection to. I don't worry about the return. I feel like, making that donation is going to make an impact, and whether it turns into sales or not is usually, we're just not, I'm not dealing with an amount of money that it's like you're going to, unfortunately, maybe Mr. Cooper is, I don't know. But
Well, we can help you help us. And for example, we could do a custom sock for your event, and you could drive a community to buy that sock, and you would keep all the margin. And if we get involved heavily, you can get that product at cost of goods. If we get involved lightly, you can have that product for wholesale, which allows you to sell it for retail, which is keystone money for you, money for your project, and then you get a sock that travels around on people's feet that tells your story and your message. That's one way we can do it. So.
I think when I'm working with somebody who's bringing me like this information, first of all, I want to be involved with people who are passionate about what they're doing, and that do have a plan. It sounds like your organization has been around for a little bit. When you come and talk to me, celebrate what you've already done and show me how excited you are. And then tell me, but my next steps are this. This is what I want to do next. This is what we're hoping to get accomplished next. And this is how we think we can do it, but this is how we need your help. And then that way, I know you've thought about it. And as a business person, I have, if I'm going to invest money in you in a way, because if I give you a charitable donation, that's what I'm doing, then I want to feel good about it at the end of the day. Whether I see a big return or not, if I know that it is something that I'm passionate about because you've made me passionate about it, that goes a long way. And it's funny, I have a business partner who I've been doing the same race with for years, but every time we meet to set the date, he sends me, he has a whole packet ready for me of, this is what this did, and this is what this did. And I'm like, okay, I'm still going to do this with you because we have this great history, but thank you for bringing it to me to show that we've made a difference with what we've done together. And I think that's the biggest thing is show me what the difference is going to be that we're going to make when we do this together. Does that make sense? Thanks.
All right. All right. Were there any other questions that anybody? Yeah.
Hi, I'm John with Bike Durham. Thank you for your thoughts about this. I'm curious about also, you're asking for us to have a plan about what we're hoping to accomplish. Are you looking for just an open dialogue about ways that you can be involved in that? Is it better if there is a menu of options that are, here are clear ways that we think that you might, or that we're talking to other businesses? what do you feel is most comfortable in that range about making it, I don't know, opening the discussion about how your business can be involved with the project that we have?
Mine will come from, I look at your reach, ambassador reach, so to speak. What is your audience and how does that relate? And as Juliet said, how are we going to be passionate about that mission and can join it with you? We do get hit globally with charity organizations, and we try and align with those that we find a message with. And so showing us your reach of what you're going to reach and your community that you're bringing to the table is important for us, and then we can share that message as well and share it together and grow. So businesses like to grow, and we also like to be a part of it and be passionate about it. So for me, that's what my answer would be.
I think having the menu helps because there are going to be days that, okay, show me what do you need? Yeah, I can come in at this level and we're done. But then I think sometimes there is a conversation, because it could be that that menu isn't sitting in a sweet spot for me at that point, or maybe there's this idea that comes into my head that I think, you know what if we tried something this way and did something a little bit different and off the menu, because I just have this feeling that it's going to be a bigger impact than what we just do on the menu. But like I said, I think coming in at least with something gets that dialogue started, and there's going to be those businesses that are going to pick 1, 2, or 3 and write the check and not want to be involved. And that's where I sort of talked about like that one-way street. You're going to have the businesses that are being like, yeah, let me write you the check, give me the receipt for taxes, and you probably don't hear from them anymore. And then there's going to be those businesses that are your partners and who are going to want to have input and who are going to want to maybe feed you some ideas because they're just having a great day and they're full of ideas that day. And so I think it needs to be a little bit of both, but I think the menu is a great starting point.
Yeah, I was just saying, for someone like me, we're a small business. I don't have a lot of time. So sometimes like an easy button is kind of like what I'm looking for, just because, just putting out fires most of the day. And then like you want to be involved with your community and want to help out, but like I just sometimes don't have the bandwidth, to get too deep into it, but you want to help. So if they're just like, okay, this makes sense and I don't have to do a whole lot, then, but it's like, it goes both ways, where there's some things that we get involved with, like our local Velo Club, like I'm more intimately involved like with them, but like another, like a nonprofit, like maybe I just don't have the time. So like having that set, like this is pretty simple for you to figure out, like X, Y, Z, whatever. So yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to bring you the mic just so that we get it on the recording as well.
I'm going to stand up, you don't mind. Barry Green Jr., Transverse CLT. My question is more about the partnership from your perspective. Outside of infrastructure, what other things are you looking for from us as advocates to help you with your business, whether it's like the removal of parking minimums or addition of density? What type of things outside of infrastructure with your busy schedules that we can help while we're in some of these conversations to help you along with your business?
That's more you.
Well, I think like kind of like, I forgot your name, but you were talking about like just like messaging, I guess, is really one of the biggest things, especially for cyclists. It's the constant struggle of like getting drivers to understand that you're allowed to be there, not just like then you should be respected regardless, but like legally you have the right to the road. So I think a lot of like the problems that we run into, as a cyclist, what I deal with, like talking with customers and stuff that are cyclists, is just like a lack of understanding that's out there. So yeah, I mean, changing. I don't know if it's easier to change infrastructure or people's minds, but it probably takes both. But yeah, outside of like more bike lanes and things like that, yeah, just a better understanding out there for people that what we're doing is okay.
I mean, on the runner side, if I have a sidewalk, then most of the time we're okay. Distracted driving has definitely been the biggest issue that we have had. Proper lighting. I had a discussion with someone before this session that safety for biking and safety for runners and walkers is very different. Cyclists want to go where there's not a lot of cars. If I'm running by myself, I want cars, because if something were to happen to me, there's more people who can see it and can get me help. And so I think it's two different things. But I will tell you the distracted driving is affecting both of our groups right now. The amount of people who almost come up on a sidewalk now is a little scary. And so I think to piggyback off of that, getting the messaging that, like, when you're in the car, concentrate on what you're doing in the car, and because there's other people that are out there. So I think on that point, I think it would be just how do we get that message out there. Lighting is a big thing. I don't know how else, actually. I guess to ask, I think permitting is a big thing on the run side also, getting us the permits that we need to do the stuff that we need to do. And those procedures being very clear on what that is, but I think that would be.
I would like to just share a situation that happened, kind of echoes on some of these comments about the safety and getting that message out. I was riding one day with my wife, and a police officer, it wasn't around here, passed a car head-on into Hope and I riding our bikes. And my wife threw her hands up in the air, and next thing I know, the police officer's pulling us over. And he said, "Which one of you flipped me off?" I said, "Nobody flipped you off. My wife put her hands up because she passed into oncoming traffic." He said, "There was no traffic." I said, "We're a vehicle." And this is what sent chills down my back. This was the sheriff. He said, "You might be right, but next time you might be dead right." So the message has to start there as well, to know. And I know Ann's in the room, and with accidents that happen, she works with legal defense of personal injury and such in cycling. And I know that, we have to get that message at the top. And so help from the community to do that. Maybe the public service announcements is the right way to go on a local level. But, we have to get the law officers to also understand what Jason just said. A bicycle is a vehicle. A pedestrian is definitely protected. So,
Yeah, as our organization, we have our North Carolina Friendly Driver program that we present throughout the state, and we've been very, very fortunate. Carol has been the catalyst for a lot of this in getting into the driver's ed programs, and we feel like educating young people early and often about things. The key takeaways that we present in the Friendly Driver program are: a bicycle is a vehicle, they have the right to the use of the full lane, change lanes while passing, and these people are people. They are out there doing, going about their daily lives and just trying to get where they're going safely. But I just from the feedback that you get, I'm curious about the feedback that you as a bike shop owner get. When people come into your store and they're looking to purchase a bicycle, what are the fears and concerns that are they having? I mean,
Yeah, like I said before, the first thing people do is they ask where you ride. Where can you ride safely around here? And it sucks that a lot of the time it's not in Hickory. So you give them the safest routes out of town to get to roads that are okay to ride, and it's a bummer that that's the way it is. It's getting better with the city walk, but it's not finished yet, so that's hard. But I think that's one of the reasons we're selling a lot of gravel bikes. People are just afraid of traffic, and they want to get out of town. They want to ride roads that have less traffic. So we do quite a bit of that, and we do have a really big road cycling community here, and I think that's super helpful. That I can tell people hey, there's a club, they ride these days. You'll be with other people. People feel safer in a group a lot of times. So, but yeah, that's the biggest thing. Is people, especially when there's people that move here. We get, with all the industry here, there's a lot of people like moving in and out of Hickory that, have come from places mainly on the coasts where the infrastructure is just so much better, and they're always like shocked when they, we don't even have shoulders on a lot of our county roads. There's there's nowhere to go really, except, so, yeah, you just kind of, try and give people best route options that you can, get them hooked up with other cyclists that are from around here that understand, the roads you should and shouldn't ride on, things like that. There's things like the Strava heat map, which is a really awesome tool for when you're like looking for routes. It shows the roads that people ride all the time, the ones that they don't. It's pretty obvious reasons why they don't, and trying to explain sort of things like that to people. But yeah, it's a struggle, man, for sure. You get a lot of crazy looks from people when you tell them that how many miles a year you ride on the road.
Yeah, and jumping back to the point about the police officers, I think that is, as advocacy groups, advocacy organizations, working with your local police departments to educate the police officers. I mean, and it's, it's not necessarily someone being as direct, or let's say as Shane's instance, but it could be that, there's a mountain of laws, of traffic laws and all other laws that, a police officer is expected to know. And, we presented the North Carolina Friendly Driver program in Fayetteville, and one of the things that we teach in that program is that it is legal in North Carolina to pass on a double yellow, the caveat being so long as it is safe to do so. Otherwise, Fayetteville police officers didn't know that. They were receptive to it, but they did not know prior to that. And so as an advocacy organization, being able to reach out to your local police and just educate them, if they're receptive to it, to just being educated and understanding some of these, it doesn't have to be every granular detail of the law, but some of those big ones, it goes a long way to just creating a safer environment for runners and walkers. Yeah.
Hey, hi, thanks for being here. It sounds like you've all been involved in various ways on the local level, but it also strikes me that when we're talking to state lawmakers and various state representatives, that they really care about what business owners have to say and how the laws they make would influence businesses more than if, I just walk in and tell my representative that I want something. So I'm wondering if you all have been involved in that level or thought about it, or if you think that would be something you could do or would be helpful, talking about safety laws in particular and DOT funding and things like that for good roads.
I haven't. I mean, interesting.
I wasn't sure I heard the direct question. Could you quote the question?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? I don't know if any of you have been involved on or have relationships with any state representatives, or whether that's something that you would be interested in doing. He mentioned, was it Jason, right? Mentioned safety and that his customers are interested in safety, and I imagine that would affect all of your businesses, people getting out there and riding bikes or running. And a lot of that comes from the state level. They're the ones who make the safety laws and build a lot of the roads with no shoulders or different things that make them dangerous for cyclists. Is that something that you all would be or could be involved on or have relationships?
I would be happy to do that, and in fact, I think it starts in Washington, D.C. at the Bike Summit, and I would be happy to join any state or city council or state group to go to the Bike Summit and to find out what programs are available and how the transportation acts are including vehicles or pedestrians. And I think you mentioned the Safe Routes to School that we were working on from the Bike Summit, which was an incredible program because you start with kids and you have walking school buses, for a 1 mile radius. You get parents to join that and to share that responsibility of walking the kids to school. I mean, that was an incredible program, and I'm not sure where it is today, but I would love to get involved in that. So I would volunteer anytime to a group, no problem.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, because we hear a lot of state representatives that vote against bicycling and pedestrian safety and infrastructure, and what they say is, well, our community doesn't want that. You know, people wouldn't use it, and or the Chamber of Commerce is speaking out against it and everything. So it seems like businesses could play a pretty big role in changing that attitude.
So it's interesting about, I'm going to age myself now, at least 12 to 15 years ago, I was on the sports commission here in Hickory, and we had the Hickory Rec Department, the head of that was part of it. And I remember having a conversation because for a very long time in Hickory, and there's still places now, the sidewalk never went all the way down the road. Like, we would have to cross multiple times. And I got quoted, number one, the cost of how much so much sidewalk cost, and then also that people didn't want it. There was this thing going on when greenways first started, and I think when neighborhoods were being made, that if there was a greenway path or something behind their house, it was being put out there that it was easier for people to get to your house, rob your house, and then disappear on the greenway. I think that myth is going away, and I think more communities, and I think, I hate to say this, but I think some of it could be the age of what some of our representatives are still believing this myth that greenways and pathways and walkways promote crime. And I think that you're seeing communities go away from that with the increase of greenways and things like that going on. But I remember that was part of the reason that I was told that certain greenways stopped, or we didn't have more pathways, or that sort of thing. And now I know in the city of Hickory, if you build something new in an area that a sidewalk already exists, you have to build the sidewalk to continue on. Does that still mean we have very patchy sidewalks? Absolutely, but at least it's a start. So I think part of it is changing the mindset of the people who are sitting up there, because I doubt the current community doesn't want it.
Yeah, and to the earlier point a little bit, I think as advocacy organizations, when you're reaching out and lobbying sort of at the state level and reaching out to representatives, engaging with businesses in your area that can come and support those efforts as well. So it's not just me, a cyclist, or, you know, we are a group of cyclists and we want better roads. Being able to take somebody with you, even if it's, you know, whether you're going to Raleigh or just meeting with your representative locally, to take a business owner and say, I have a business and it is in my business's best interest, and our business wants more sidewalks. I think that's another good way that you can engage with businesses in your area to support and continue to advocate for more infrastructure and safer streets.
Hi, I'm Sandy Broadwell with Asheville, and I was just curious, you guys are kind of, I think, low-hanging fruit as far as business goes for like getting bike walk advocacy, because this is your business. But how would you recommend, like, I love that you guys, like, two of you at least on the panel, like, specifically located your business where the greenway was or where you knew the greenway would be. Like, how would you recommend getting other businesses that aren't in the industry maybe to, like, how can we get them to get on board? What would you recommend as, like, the business pitch of, like, this is going to be good for you?
Well, there was a movie called Field of Dreams. You know, and the saying was, build it and they'll come, right? And I think that's what we're seeing. Now, as far as an outdoor community, Hickory is way behind Asheville, but we've now formed our own outdoor community outreach program, which I'm a part of that board, and hopefully these two wonderful business folks sitting next to me will also join that to start more outdoor companies coming. And for me, it's about, hey, I'm a capitalist, right? Politics aside, capitalism is what I believe in. I'm an immigrant from the UK, and I'm a proud American citizen. And for me, it's about building that structure, that's something that will help my business, but will also help the community. And I think that the bike path here in Hickory did that. And how do we get local businesses to join that? We show them a community. We show them the walkers, and we show them what this did to pull more people in. And so we're looking at doing some things here in Hickory to have some long-lasting effects in the outdoor community within the next 2 years, hopefully, to where we can start to spread that out. And so companies like Pepsi-Cola, which have a really, Coca-Cola in Hickory, Hickory Springs, they're already getting involved in some of these outdoor community activities with the mountain bike park near the lake. So, you know, reaching out to one of our greatest attributes here in Hickory would be the Lake Hickory that we have, and getting that waterway, you know, part of outdoor events, running events on the mountain bike area, bringing in people to see the incredible opportunities we have. And those outdoor businesses will reach out to the bigger industry that's outside, which I just mentioned, corporate, let's call that the corporate world. So that's what I'm hopeful, build it and it will come.
So I'm not that hopeful. I am, but when I'm looking at it, I think you look at their business. If people are doing more outdoor activities and they're taking care of themselves, their healthcare costs are going to be less. Most of your major companies are self-funding their healthcare. So it's bringing up that point. It's bringing up that you can bring better candidates to work for your business if you have that infrastructure there. Because I'll be honest, Corning Corporate used to be on 321. It is now in Charlotte. And part of that was because at the time that decision was made, Hickory wasn't doing the things that they're doing now to bring different candidates into the area. And part of that, a big part of that, was the grant that we got to do the city walks and this. So yes, is it part of the, if you build it, they will come? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think some of it is exactly what I said before. Research the company that you're trying to get the help from and find sort of those key things that you can say to them to say, hey, if you partner with us, we'll be able to do this for the people who work for you. We're going to be able to provide this for not just your current employees, but your future employees that you want to attract to your business. Because that makes a huge difference too, is that it's like I said, it's that two-way street. How can you, helping our organization, come back and help your organization? And it doesn't necessarily mean it's money in the till because of sales or things like that. Some of that is how do we make the quality of life for your employees better so they want to stay here?
Yeah, and also, you know, I'd recommend things like engaging with other businesses. You know, Jason was saying, you know, the renovated warehouse that he's in is, you know, there or not quite on City Walk, but being connected to City Walk. Go to the other businesses that are in those areas or that fall along the greenway and engage with them and say, how has this benefited you? And then be able to share that story. Got one more question I think we've got time for.
Thank you. I'm Kenneth Withrow with the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, and in our region, in the Triangle, we've had a significant blast addressing safety. So Safe Streets for All plans and policies have been adopted by the Capital Area MPO, the Triangle West TPO, which used to be Durham Chapel Carborough, as well as the City of Raleigh, Town of Knightdale, and another one's going to be adopted, or will be adopted for representing Central Pines in our area. Taking into account all these plans that are occurring and pivoting on what the young lady from Asheville had just mentioned, how can we better engage businesses through outreach to get you all more involved in what we're doing so that it becomes really a safety culture when we're doing transportation planning? So what can we do to make a safety culture really strong, not only in our region, but in the Hickory area, so that it becomes a I wouldn't call it a natural thing, but a truer thing, that safety is what we really want to have happen in transportation planning.
I mean, I think for me, it's amazing how, like, you guys are all asking about coming to businesses and looking for advice and help. How few people come to us. Like, it's real, really in Hickory, it's Bruce. It's basically it. There's not real, like, I don't know what kind of outreach you're actually doing. So I think, there's so much stuff to keep track of today. Like, do people even really know that these things are happening? So I think making sure that you're, a regular presence at, your bike shops, your run shops, your hiking outfitters, places where people know, like, so that, if I know as a owner what's happening behind the scenes, I can tell, when I'm talking to a customer about something, they can know that these things are coming down the pike. I think that's super important. Yeah.
I think the other thing is like offering to come and talk at events. So if we're putting on events, most of us have rides or runs that lead from our stores. Coming to events and talking to it, but not just those events. Like coming to other events so that, because let's face it, we do have to be aware of our surroundings, but sometimes that safety has nothing to do with us. We can be as safe as we possibly can and accidents will still happen. But being at events or inviting us to your events. Like I noticed that Winston-Salem just opened a new section of Greenway or something, and they made a huge event of just opening this new area. If we knew that those things were going on, like Fleet Feet Winston-Salem brought their entire run group that night to that opening so they could be the first ones over that bridge or whatever. And so I think that was a great opportunity to have a huge conversation about safety, that, hey, we made this greenway for you, but let's still make sure that we're aware of this, 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 and this. And, hey, this is how we made this greenway safer for you, or this area safer for you, but we still need you to be aware of these, and these things. And if you can see something that we can help with, I think it's that opening of communication. I mean, I think you're right. I've been invited to one thing in the 20 years I've been in business about how to make it safer for runners and walkers in Hickory. One meeting at City Hall. And so I think that conversation with those business owners who are going to touch people, because whenever we start a new run group, we have a huge conversation about safety if we have a new training group. But, I mean, reiterating that, having posters or different things that we can put up, even in Starbucks. Starbucks will let you put up anything. So, like, those safety posters in those areas, and I know that's a little bit of funding, but if somebody came to me and said, I want to make some posters about safety in running, I would definitely help pay for that. So.